Hey everyone, it's David here, co-founder of Nico, and I'm here with Luis from Just One Giant Lab, or JOGL for short. I'll hand it over to Luis for a quick intro and we'll go in from there.
Hi, I'm Louis, co-founder and CPO of Just One Giant Lab. We're a platform enabling science and tech communities and helping them find a new way to actually build valuable communities, mostly builders communities.
Awesome. And we talked a little bit before this, but 6 years you guys have been building JOGL. So I'd love to just learn about that timeline, that journey, and where you started and where you're at today. So anything you want to add there?
Yeah, of course. So JOGL was born really in the middle of the biohacking movement. And it was really at the beginning an emergent movement of scientists who were very, very frustrated about how capital was allocated to science. It's a dusty, power-grabbing, stressful, very binary process where either you get in or you're not in, and then you have to do something else. Or it's also a process by which you're not deciding what you want to do. There is a big company deciding that they want to finance that topic, and then you're going to work on that topic. And so what we did was build a platform for applying for funding. We got $100K from a foundation, and then we managed people on Slack otherwise. Right. And it was really like we developed a way for people to meet and to merge, and also to give extremely fast investment cycles, like few weeks.
Right.
So extremely iterative, extremely collaborative way of financing. And the output was about 10x what you would do typically with a centralized foundation.
Right, incredible. And let's talk about the experience from a team of researchers that maybe they've gone through their research cycle and now they're ready to bring a product to market, or what is the funding look like? Is it more funding for continued research or research on a subject, or is it funding so that someone can bring a product or service to a market?
Yeah, amazing question. So you have some foundations are already distributing funds in a not so efficient way.
Yes.
And then you have like emerging communities of experts that are so good that they will be able to manage a treasury down the road. That's what we proved.
Got it.
In terms of what we build, we realized that beyond the funding aspect, there is a huge community management problem. Like every single community, you can think about it as circle 1, core developers or core team, circle 2, contributors, circle 3, curious people, where you might have absolute gems in there.
Right.
But they're just out there. And there is no platform that allows you to properly manage those 3 circles. And that's true in centralized research institute or schools or consortium, and that's also true in emergent open source communities.
Yes. Love it. And yeah, as someone that's been building crypto communities for several years now, it's incredible the power that exists within the community. I mean, they really are your early evangelist users, supporters, but we've also onboarded our best teammates and employees through our community, and understanding that, taking advantage of the people that see value in what you're doing and empowering them to succeed is so important. Mm-hmm. In terms of maybe what you're looking at when you're assessing a team or an entity for helping them get grant funding, what are some of the key metrics, and does that change based on the foundations that you're working with?
Well, today we are enabling people to distribute funds. We're not distributing funds.
Right.
We're not distributing funds ourselves. But when I look at an organization and I'm trying to assess whether we can help them, it's just like, do you have the right experts in your network? Are you trying to get them excited today by sending them a newsletter or just having them in a Discord channel? Right. If that's what you do, then yes, we can have a huge impact for you. Because we can help you get those experts on board and come up with a community quorum that's adapted to you. If you expect 10,000 applications for your prize, then we're going to find a very scalable way of handling those. Right. And your experts are going to have to look at the top 10%.
Absolutely.
And we have ways to basically skim out the 90%.
Awesome. And we've talked a little bit about the community aspect, but what are some of the key levers and mechanisms that any team in the open source community or research community needs to have in place to make sure they're best positioned to receive support, receive funding from a more open and robust model?
Mm-hmm. I think it all comes down to documentation and making it incredibly easy for people to come in and be here and be like, oh, that's the community I want to be part of. Like, for example, if we take open source AI, there are so many applications like medical space, biotech, synthetic biology, mathematics, particle physics, like you name it. And you're gonna have like PhDs, postdocs, professors, or just curious minds in each of those topics. And those are the people who know their problem. And we're gonna be like, oh, can we use AI here?
Yes.
But to answer those questions, they're gonna need a community.
Yes.
And so you're gonna need a community for each of those topics to coalesce and interact with the broader community of like the core
Right.
open source AI. And so that's what I would advise. It's your ability to get experts in, even if they are not AI experts.
Okay. Great answer. And I've been really, I mean, the open source AI realm has been super interesting, just because of how powerful the open source LLMs are. There are models that really do compete pretty closely with the top frontier models in a lot of ways. And I think it's probably one of the most important areas for us as a society to focus on right now is making sure that there are open options for this technology, and it's not just a black box for, you know, the key frontier model stakeholders that exist today. Where's your mind at in that kind of in that world? What are some of the things maybe you're most interested in and maybe a little bit nervous about?
Yeah, centralization, I would say.
Yeah.
I would just summarize it this way, and particularly if we look at what NEAR is doing, again, your community of users and collaborators are basically doing the after sales and the support.
Yes.
That would be done in a centralized fashion at OpenAI, say. And now you take all those specific research topics that are gonna need their own support, their own communities. I think what's top of mind is like, how do we build those communities so we can compete against OpenAI or Google? Because as a matter of fact, they have support teams for molecular engineering, they have support teams for synthetic biologists. Yeah. And so they're able to really provide a high level of support to super niche applications that, well, if we don't build the communities that are gonna provide this support, nobody's gonna want to be using those types of like open source models.
I think that's a pretty interesting point, because there's the hardware side, which the centralized bodies, they're pretty far ahead on in terms of the GPU resources they have. But from a user-based community model where you could have the researchers, these people that want to contribute to the open source ecosystem, and now you're talking about users and blockchain users, that maybe you could build some interesting incentive mechanisms where perhaps there could be a more robust testing and support framework within all of the crypto community and beyond as that scales, versus the labs that these, you know, powerful companies have. There could be an edge there.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
But I think it requires new infrastructure, and mostly frankly, I have 30 minutes of my time. I'm an absolute expert, say, in lean programming, mathematics. How do I get involved? It's crazy to think that everybody's going to have a full week to get involved in a community.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to having a cohesive way to search through things. Today, if you're building a community and you're relying on the admin to be like, oh, you should talk to that person, then you've already lost.
Yeah.
Because how you're building really a community that's going to support a product, you need to have like peer-to-peer interactions, basically. And if you want to have those peer-to-peer interactions, you need to have a search across people's profile, documents, resources, papers, discussions, all of that. So that's basically what we're focused on.
Awesome. And more and more I see just content becoming a really important way for founders to interact with their community, whether that's via Twitter or just making videos. But I'm curious maybe what your take is on that for the kind of that inter body of the community, the researchers, the founders. How do you think they can best interact with the rest of the world? Do you think it's really starting with the community first and then just keep continuing to scale out, or are there other maybe some hacks that founders and researchers can take use of?
They can definitely, I think, content that's accessible to whomever they want to attract.
Right.
I don't know, I'm putting myself in the shoes of a lab. We've seen this many times. A lab is looking to do a research on like business applications or go to markets. Well, they need to get their content to be understood or understandable by those people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say bringing their content to the right level. But again, if they don't have time to do that, they should look for someone who's going to do vulgarization for it. And that's someone you find them in a community.
Got it. And for your lab's focus, does it change based on just the overall market environment? I mean, we go through technical cycles where interests are here, interests are there. Does the lab operate on a similar manner, or are you just saying, hey, there's research in every sector. We need to support that in an open source manner at scale. What is your strategy around that?
No, of course. So today we work with a lot with biotech organizations, synthetic biology, biotech, big like National Institute for Cancer, big clusters of hospitals. All of those have AI needs, by the way. And then we work with more AI, CS focused organizations.
Got it.
The need for community, like when we talk to centralized organizations, like the tide has really shifted. Like it has become priority for them. They need to do more with less. They realize that their biggest set is their community of experts. They realize that today they are paying a lot of admins to try to like get them excited and it doesn't work.
Yep.
So the pitch of, well, we're gonna reduce your headcount by 4 and do a better job is so far working pretty well.
Love it.
And when it comes to like more open source communities, well, the challenge with open source communities is that Discord is good at doing Circle 1 on a piece of Circle 2. But I was at MakerDAO before, and now I'm not such a heavy contributor, but when I go back on the MakerDAO Discord, I have 75 messages unread after a week.
Yeah.
Like I cannot catch up. I could not get back into it.
Yes.
And that's what we are basically building. It's like a way for anyone, wherever they are, to get back into it.
Love it. Yeah, that's as a builder, that it's so overwhelming, and you sort of need to make concessions as to how you engage and where you engage. But I think, more tools in that is so important. Mm-hmm. One thing that I'm kind of curious about is we can say these centralized entities, these very successful corporations, companies in their domains. I'm curious maybe what your take is on their sentiment towards the open source contributions. I mean, you could look at Meta, where they've made tons of open source contributions across the board, but of course more recently with Llama. Mm-hmm. and they've done some really cool stuff. Maybe they saw that instead of trying to just compete with OpenAI, they'll just make all the stuff open source and let other people compete. Yeah. But I wonder how that transfers into other domains, into the bio domain and things like that. How do companies balance their for-profit proprietary research versus funding open source stuff as well?
No, of course. So some are very closed and they are intentionally building silos and like think of a lot of big farmers. Yeah. That's fine. Not our target for now. In biotech, you have more and more, for example, open source hardware companies. So open source medical hardware, or you have those like open source lab equipment. So for example, pipetting robots. Okay. They're open source, anyone can replicate. Nobody does because, manufacturing is like overhead and all of that. They really see their community of builders building protocols to do the pipetting as a huge asset. And so for a lot of companies, like the community is just a raw asset. Why? Because again, it's your support department on steroids. Yes. Because then it's your support departments with a sense of belonging and a sense of like, oh wow, I have people I'm on the same wavelength with. So that's how we see companies changing their mind about
Got it. Yeah, and I think any company can adopt that community model. It really is powerful to have people that care about your product, what you're doing beyond just like the immediate intrinsic gain that they get for using it or holding it, whatever it is. Like it is so, and that's one thing I think Web3 has really showcased, at least to me, and I think to many of others, is the power of that community element.
I have another point on that. We have a segment of clients which is just scientific consortiums, very Web2. So you're going to have big pharma like Roche and Sanofi, and then they're going to have in those consortium public agencies, NGOs, research institutes. And today they're absolutely struggling to collaborate. It's all emails, it's all attachments in emails.
Yep.
They're struggling to make decisions. On what we've seen that's interesting is that they want Web3 governance. Like they do board meetings, some people cannot show up, they cannot make the decision, they have to adjourn the board meeting. Like they should, when we demo them what Web3 governance looks like, they're like, yeah, that's what we need. How about we vote ahead of the meeting and then like we validate the vote during the meeting?
Incredible.
So we're seeing this dynamic as well with like centralized companies that are just struggling to collaborate with each other.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And as far as entities out there that want to get involved with Just One Giant Lab, that's Just One Giant, JOGL.
Yeah.
JOGL. Where would they start? How do they reach out to you or your team members?
Website jogl.io. I am at Louis at jogl.io.
Okay.
They talk to us. We can give them a demo. We can give them a hub for free. Typically, we would help them think about like how they should structure their community. It's extremely modular. You can have your super private internal team on JOGL. You can have your super private internal team plus a network of experts that's semi-private plus a completely private community. It's very modular.
And so are you using the existing Rails to make that possible? For instance, Discord servers, Telegram groups, are you leveraging those technologies in the packages for those communities to start forming?
Yeah, so not yet. It's something we've been asked a lot. So far, our clients are more happy to walk away from Discord, and I know it's pretty controversial, but in research, people are pretty overwhelmed by Discord.
Yeah.
Telegram, it's a big ask, particularly our notification on Telegram. But yeah, the Rails were gonna, I would say for us, the Rails are more like, oh, we're gonna use decentralized storage for people who want decentralized storage. Well, you're gonna use like those types of wallets because that's what people want.
Right.
That's more the type of Rails we're looking to use.
We were just hacking around a few months ago and we built NEAR Protocol.chat, and it's like a WebSockets chat room with AI agents, and then anyone can just join and either talk to each other or talk to an agent. And there's like multi-agent workflows and stuff, but it's building like a chat room experience is so crazy. Just getting people to like want to use it instead of Discord and Telegram from like the crypto native side is a challenge in and of itself. But if you're not a Web3 company or Web3 degen or user, like you don't really have that same aspect or same mindset about those two rails. So it's probably a little easier to. It's funny that people are actually kind of pushing away against it, which I could totally relate to.
Yeah, no, I mean we're gonna have to build integrations for sure, but the problem right now is that discourse is separated from Discord.
Yes.
And Discord doesn't have profiles that you can search. So, if I'm here, I have a great idea, I'm looking for experts to like help me on my idea. How do you do that in Discord?
Yeah.
You're going to search by unknown names, never going to work.
Absolutely. And you're dealing with potential frauds, right? There's in our Discord server, there's probably 20 different DLear accounts that people try to copy. So to be able to have sort of that certifiable, this is who I'm speaking with, maybe a record of their accomplishments, and that's huge and super valuable.
Yeah. And on the Rails, so for us, it's like more GitHub integration, Hugging Face integration, NEAR AI Hub integration. Bring your own agents. Those are the things that we're trying to enable right now.
Love it.
But yeah, we've been thinking less of the integration of the existing tools because we have clients shifting away from Slack and Microsoft Teams, for example, to just use us. So we haven't had this problem so much.
Incredible. Louis, is there anything else you want to make sure we hit on before we wrap up for the day's interview? It's super insightful. Love it.
No, again, if you wanna talk, Louis at jogl.io, LOUIS, and I'd be happy to talk.
Awesome. Cheers, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a great rest of Redacted. Bye, guys.